What's up, listeners? Jinx, welcome to Predator vs. Movies. I'm Alex.
I'm Peter.
I'm Aidan.
And this is a podcast where we discuss and review the latest movie releases. We're going to start off with a non-spoiler review before diving into a deep discussion of the film. Then we're going to ask the most important question: would this movie be better if the alien from Predator was in it? This week, we're going to be reviewing Past Lives. A24's, I believe. But before we get into that, we have some movie-related news. First up, big news ahead of the Oppenheimer release. We're 2 weeks out from Barbenheimer, from Impact, and we've got some bombshell breaking news. Headline, bold print, all caps. Prolonged full nudity between Cillian Murphy and Florence Pugh.
Dude, it's Killian? This is not the first time that you said Cillian.
Killian, it starts with a C, so
it's Killian.
Maybe he should have thought about that. Anyways,
if Aidan was reading that headline, he would have gotten it right because he's our names guy.
And also my Irish, the epigenetic memories would have triggered, and I would have just known it.
Yeah, you know? Shame on you, Alex.
If he was Cillian McMurphy, then maybe I'd be able to help you out. But yes, we know it now. Prolonged full nudity in Oppenheimer. Definitely will drive ticket sales. I don't know.
Like I was just saying, I think the phrasing of that being like the most pragmatic framing of it, like it's not like there's a hot sex scene. It's like there's prolonged full nudity.
It's so objective. Dude, it's definitely going to be black and white and not in color.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be in the color scenes, just based on what we know about which is which, but...
It makes it sound like they're just gonna be like standing there, like it
just looking.
yeah, that's right. like T-pose, like standing in the hallway. Mom, I threw up. Also prolonged full nudity.
It's just an accurate description of what's happening, not passing any judgment on it. There's prolonged nudity.
No. Also attached to that tweet, Nolan said something like, "This is the best romance he's ever done," which is kind of like a really low bar for him.
That is a low bar.
It's like women dying, and I don't know. He's not well known for that.
Well, I mean, the one he did in Inception is not bad, right? Like when I think about romance in Nolan movies, I go to that.
But she's not like a character in it. She's just like a device for him.
A flashback ghost. It's not two people with equal footing. But speaking of Barbenheimer, we got some news about Greta Gerwig and where her career is shaping up. So there was a report that she's interested in doing more big studio films akin to Barbie as opposed to stuff like Lady Bird and Little Women. And so the next, I think, 2 or more projects she's working on are Narnia films for Netflix. Honestly, I don't hate it. I think having directors in the studio system who have strong visions that, like, sure, studio films like aren't as artistic or necessarily compelling, but again, I think having that strong voice in there could change things, I guess.
Sure, but and I'll say, like, there are some directors who I think you can make like a really original film that is like fun and interesting in different ways, and I think Nolan is a good example of that, where it's like, I don't love every Nolan film, but how many big budget films has he made that, like, you can't tell me that any of those don't have like a singular vision behind them, even the ones that I don't like, you know what I mean?
I feel like Greta's in a position where she's accumulated enough influence and leverage over these studios that she can have some degree of freedom, just like Nolan. Because, like, Nolan has proven himself that he can sell tickets, and, you know, even though Tenet wasn't the greatest, it still sold a lot of tickets. And I think it was like the first film back from COVID, right? Like it was
still in the midst of it too. So
so I think the fact that, you know, Greta Gerwig's, you know, at this position in her career where she can do that, it's sick. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Again, I'm not sure about her directing the Narnia movies, though. Because, I mean, we just watched Peter Pan, directed by who? David Lowery, right?
David Lowery, yeah.
And I didn't like that. So,
I didn't like that
we'll
either.
see.
But I actually think like a bunch of movies about like relationships between siblings is actually like right up her alley. Like
That
something
is
like,
true. That is a
something
good
like
point.
she could
Yeah,
like
yeah,
she
yeah.
could really tease that out and make it really fun. My only like concern, and I don't know if this is necessarily a fair criticism, but I feel like Greta Gerwig doesn't necessarily have like the most unique or like strong or identifiable like formal language or formal style. And so, like, I do wonder, like, will there be a certain amount of getting washed out? But I don't know. I still have faith. Like, I actually think they're going to be quite good.
I see what you mean, but also I think at this point in her career, we've seen 2 of her movies, right? So I think
True.
I think style is something that develops over time. So
True.
I think with more with a larger sample size, maybe we'll begin to tease out what is her visual style, and maybe along the way she'll start developing it more. To play Predator's advocate on this point, though, this does remind me of the scene from Barry, the latest season of Barry. There's a joke where someone's on
I
like
know what you mean.
a film set.
It's the Coda director, right?
Yeah, and so Bill Hader is making a comment how indie film, particularly female indie women. I'm saying all the things multiple times. Women filmmakers in the indie scene, how they get swooped up after big awards or big things into the studio system, and suddenly they're doing Marvel movies. And so the joke one he did was the director of Coda made a cameo in Barry and was directing like the Wonder Woman parody 3 or something. And at the time I was like, that's pretty funny. And here we are again. Also, like Sarah Polley getting swooped up by Disney. There is a pipeline going on there.
There was Chloe Zhao too with Trainers and that too.
I think that was the one he was commenting on most recently. But yeah, some other Mattel related news. I think the Greta Gerwig stuff came from maybe the same article or similar just news releases, but some Mattel bigwig was talking about what other projects they have in store. Apparently there's like 45 separate Mattel projects that they're working on, which is really bleak. I don't know about you guys, but I'm finding
I don't think that's gonna work. I think that this is a flash in the pan. I don't think they're gonna be able to sustain this hype for other movies.
Look, I don't know. Like, superhero genre has lasted 20 years, and now is it dying?
But they found a way for that to be fresh right off the hop, and like I would say that because of the superhero genre, there is some level of exhaustion towards these overarching brand franchises as well. I think that like Barbie is getting a lot of press because it's like a particular mixture of things. It's Greta Gerwig directing. It's which is not like you wouldn't expect that from like a big thing, like a big like studio brand, whatever. And it's like I feel like it's a good time for it. But case in point, who the fuck is gonna go see the J.J. Abrams Hot Wheels movie? Like, that's not... No one's going to that. Like,
even if it's, quote, emotional, grounded, and gritty? I don't know. Dudes like cars. Like, we've got 10 Fast and Furious movies plus 1 Hobbs and Shaw.
That's a franchise that has proven itself.
Also, I think it's very funny that they quote... They refer to the Fast and Furious franchise in the article. I did briefly skim it. And the guy is like... Come on. This is my bigwig studio voice. I mean, come on. We've got Fast and Furious 10 and Hot Wheels 0. He says, he literally says Hot Wheels 0. I just found that so funny. But yeah, I honestly don't know if they're gonna try the Mattel Cinematic Universe, although that acronym has been taken.
Also, think about how many have failed too. Like the Dark Universe or whatever, the Universal Monsters thing. Like that failed super hard. The DCEU has failed like twice now and will probably fail again.
Well, no, the question I'm having is it a cinematic universe they're doing, or is it just like DreamWorks? How they just like they're a company that makes movies, right? So they have their IP, but what I will say to your point is the difference between and I heard this on somebody else's pod, but the difference between this and take the superhero genre is the superhero genre is based on stories, whereas these are based on toys and products that don't have stories built into them. You have to add story onto them, or like intertwined, whatever. But so I think there's ways where that can work well, and like creativity can be part of that process. So I'm sure that the Barbie movie is a great example where Greta Gerwig has a story to tell that has to do with Barbie, and she's doing it in a meta way. And I think that will lead to like an actually like interesting story that has ideas in it. But I think the idea of doing 45 things is, I can't even name 45 Mattel products.
Well, but that's my point. They're not going to be able to do that. Like, there's no way.
No, there's no way.
I just don't buy it for the second.
I imagine maybe it's like throwing it back to high school biology, but like, you know how like there's different types of reproduction. This is so nerdy. Reproduction styles. This sounds bad, but like certain animals have lots of offspring, and some only have few.
Oh, like R strategy and K strategy, like that thing.
I think so. So humans only have a few children because they're gonna take really good care of them.
It takes more energy to raise a single kid. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas bugs don't give a fuck about their kids, but they have lots of kids, so some of them will survive. That's the studio system. The studio system is bugs.
Sure.
Anyways, speaking of the studio system is bugs, the studio system is also dinosaurs. Daniel Kaluuya is making a Barney movie, not Barbie, and he's described it as quote-unquote surrealistic, similar to Kaufman and Spike Jonze. This is an A24 type movie, but I don't think it is A24, and it's also described as a play for adults. Fantastic. Can't wait.
that just means nothing to me. Like, it's just like you're just saying things. Like I'll wait and see, brother.
Yeah. Also, actually, I forgot for the J.J. Abrams thing. If you read the article, the headline on like discussing film or whatever was kind of like leaving out some of the more interesting information. It was because it says something like J.J. Abrams does not have a script for Hot Wheels, and had to like didn't really want to do it. It sounded like, and also was asked to do a video, and the description of the video was like that it was like depressing or something. Like just like people not thriving in the studio system compared to Greta Gerwig, who is having the time of her life. Movies, we have trailers.
Vroom, vroom, vroom.
Trailer
Into the
park.
trailer park.
Here we are. First up, let's talk about maybe a brighter light in the studio system. That's right, I'm talking about the Nun II.
Woo! Let's go.
Sequel to Nun. Is it The Nun?
It is The Nun, and I will say that is one of the worst horror movies I've seen in theaters in my life. And with that being said, as I tweeted out, I will be there for the second one. Because I quote the first Nun movie like fairly frequently. Like there are some like legitimately hilarious moments in that like I don't know if they're intending it to be as funny as it is, but that I'm excited. My only complaint is that this one looks like it might actually be like decently made, and I don't know if that's what I'm looking for out of a Nun movie, to be honest.
You're like, oh man, they made the Nun good. What?
Yeah.
I liked it better. Make the Nun bad again. No, the trailer, I gotta be honest, I'm not watching this, but what I will say is the part at the end when the magazines are flipping through the
I was gonna say that too, yes.
Kind of cool, but even better, I was like, what's going on? There's faces, cool 50s faces in the magazines, flipping, and some like the pieces start lining up. And when the titular Nun II shows up in the magazines, I said aloud to myself, "Oh, it's the Nun!" The jump scare. So I got it. I got the movie. Question for you, Aidan: do you think they're gonna connect this to the Pope's Exorcist? Is there gonna be a cinematic universe?
Russell Crowe crossover.
Well, I don't know if you know, this is already in the Conjuring universe.
No.
It's already. It's I don't know if you did. It's already a part of a larger universe, which the Conjuring universe has tons of movies. It's like 10 or more by this point. Like, it's actually a shocking amount that are part of the Conjuring universe.
Interesting. Well, Conjuring 3: The Devil Made Me Do It came out 2021.
There's Conjuring 1, 2, 3. There's the Nun 1 and 2. There's Annabelle 1, 2, and 3.
Those are the same one too?
Yeah. There's the Curse of There's the Curse of La Llorona. So that's 9. So there, I might be forgetting one, but yeah.
It's like a Fast and Furious or Mattel. It's one of those. It's anyways, more movies. Bob Marley has a biopic. Everybody gets a biopic.
Yep, and it looks exactly like all of the other ones, and it's gonna. It is gonna be the most individualistic, fucking stupid approach to social issues. It is going to be like, let's all just come together, and it's gonna be like, damn, it like sucks when like, I get firebombed, and it sucks when like there's racism. It's gonna be fucking stupid. I actually like I don't know if you guys saw. But I like leaned back and audibly went like, "Shut the fuck up!" When I saw the trailer.
Oh my God.
This is gonna be really bad. I think this is gonna be a truly awful movie.
And it's also gonna be, I bet you, borderline offensive, like the Bohemian Rhapsody movie was queer people. So I bet the movie about how we need to have one love and not be racist, I bet is gonna be extremely subtly racist. Yeah. And I can't wait to not watch this.
It's not a shot in hell I will be there.
The style is like the exact, like it's frame for frame the same as every other of these. And like you could you have him like in the studio. You have the same shot of him recording the song in the studio, and it's like, holy shit. There's a very clear like tropes of this style of film now. Where you have to have the ones of in the studio where the guy's like sliding up the dials. You gotta have the dial shot. You gotta have them in the studio. Gotta have them in concert. It's just like an AI could write this, and I bet it did. That's why I wanted to talk about it, because it looks like shit. And then we also got a trailer for not shit, Dune 2. Can you imagine if Greta Gerwig did Dune? We could have that.
That would be...
Greta Gerwig science fiction.
I mean, she would also cast Timothée Chalamet.
That is true.
That is
true. But anyways, Dune 2 got another trailer.
It's Muad'Dib time. I was just gonna say it's Muad'Dib time.
It's Muad'Dib time.
Thank you. I'm actually really glad that I made sure you got your voice heard. It's Muad'Dib time indeed. So this trailer. Florence Pugh has never looked spikier in her knife dress, and Austin Butler has never looked smoother. Christopher Walken has never looked older, and I don't have a fourth
That's
thing.
true about us all. That's true about us all, though. We've never looked older. That's deep.
Time marches on.
Yeah.
I'm depressed now. Part over. Time marches on. Death comes to us all. Peter really wanted to talk about this. What do you have to say for yourself, son?
Dude, it's just really cool, man. Like,
great. Okay.
I mean, bro, it's Dune, man. Like, I will be there. Opening day, IMAX theater. Hell yeah. It's gonna be a good time.
For any trailer drop, and you should just retweet "I will be there."
If I will be there, then I'll say.
No, just regardless of whether or not you will be there, just say "I will be." Bob Marley, I will be there.
No, I have to mean that.
Do you guys know that soccer meme where it's like I'll be there no matter what?
The Kylian Mbappe one,
yeah. This is a movie podcast. I don't know sports. Shut up. Anyways, we watched a movie. Speaking of movies, we didn't watch a soccer game, that's for sure. We watched a movie. Aidan, do you want to tell us about the movie we watched?
We watched a movie known as Past Lives. It was directed by Celine Song. It was starring Greta Lee, Teo Yu, and John Magaro. I feel like there's more people. Oh, I guess that is 3 people.
It's mostly 3 people.
It is 3 people. The cinematography is by... Shabier, sorry. Kirchner, my bad. Sorry.
But it's not shabby.
Not sure. Distributed by A24 but not produced. It was originally released January 21st, 2023 on Sundance. Got a widespread release on June 2nd. Runtime of 106 minutes, and it has so far made about $7.4 million at the box office. I don't have the budget up here.
Peter's making a crazy wide-eyed face at the.
No, that's really good for a small indie film. That's sick.
Well, I don't know what the budget was, so maybe it's not good. It's probably less than that, though.
So thank you, Aidan, for that. We have a game we play every week called Predacritic. There's a website on the internet called Metacritic where critics' scores of a movie are averaged out of 100. We are going to guess the score of this movie, Past Lives. And yeah, I usually this explanation is longer, and I'm a little out of my rhythm doing the short version. I did spin the wheel already. Aidan,
Nice.
You are guessing first.
Oh, are you fucked?
You can't play the game this time.
Damn, I can't play
Hell
the game.
yeah.
I just have to go off of intuition. This is a well-reviewed movie. I know that much. I believe it's getting well-reviewed on the Letterboxd and on various other websites.
Alright, man's gonna do 99 on Metacritic.
I am not. I'm thinking high 80s. That's what I've been thinking personally. Perhaps low 90s. I think this has been getting really well reviewed though. I've seen very few bad reviews of it. So
Low 90s. Yo,
I've kind of talked myself into 90s here, so I will go 93.
Wow. I did spin again, and I did get Peter next. You were up
okay.
next.
Dude, I think low 90 is cap. 85.
Oh, I see. I thought you were going to guess higher, and I was like, you're insane.
No, no.
I just feel like every review I've seen has been super high.
Dude, I don't think I've seen a single movie that's in the 90s in Metacritics.
They exist. They're
We've
out
done
there.
it on this podcast.
Really?
I distinctly
Maybe.
remember we've done like After Sun or something is like 90s or whatever.
Well, this is something I can check. But for my guess, I'm going to go somewhere in between you guys.
Fair.
This score my guess does not reflect how I feel about the movie necessarily, but I do think, I don't know, we're around a 90, so I'll really.
You're
let it
crazy. You guys are
straight
crazy. What are you smoking?
Look, I don't think it deserves to be there either, but.
No, that's crazy though.
Actually-
I genuinely don't think I've seen a movie that's in the 90s.
Well, guess what, Peter?
Metacritic.
Guess what, Peter?
What?
You're the crazy one. You
Wait,
lose.
what?
Aidan wins. It is a 94. 94.
Yo, what I'm saying, man.
Yo, they're smoking some crazy shit
okay,
in the
I'm saying
Metacritic office, bro.
Either After Sun or Tar or something was
I'm
in the 90s.
Checking right now.
Something
Okay.
that we did.
After Sun is currently on Metacritic, the highest rated movie from last year. Deservedly, in my opinion, it has a 95.
Yeah.
The
That is
second
crazy.
highest rated movie on Metacritic from last year, deservedly, in my opinion, Tar at 92.
Tar, nice.
That's what I'm saying.
And
That's what I'm saying. We've done it
Crazy,
before.
bro.
We've done 90s
Yeah, it's happened before.
That is insane.
Actually,
And I
look
remember seeing a lot of movie of the year buzz from this. So
Bro, yo, Aidan, there's no way that you're just.
I
You-
saw it. You get cheated.
No. You're crazy for guessing that, though. That's
okay,
insane.
I looked away for 2 seconds and we're going into chaos. We have something to do next.
Yes,
because
not
Aidan
spoiler
won.
review.
I turned my head away for 1 second to look at Metacritic and it descends. Aidan's gonna guess his non-spoiler reaction. For
Guess his
Lives.
non-spoiler reaction.
Nice. I'm
give
gonna
us-
guess my non-spoiler reaction.
I don't think I said that.
What am I gonna say? Oh shit.
You're making fun of me for something that didn't happen.
Yeah,
Reverse
dude,
the tapes.
Play it back.
No.
Play it back. Yeah.
I don't think that's true. Anyways, you're going to give us your non-spoiler reaction because you won.
Okay.
Tell it like it is.
Yeah, so like I said, I've been seeing some film of the year buzz for this movie. I don't agree with that. I don't think this will be my film of the year. However, I did give it 4.5 stars. I think it will definitely crack my top 10. And I haven't ranked it yet, but it's probably up there. It's probably my number 2 of the year so far, actually.
What's number one?
Number one, Skinamarink, and I don't think anything's gonna unseat that. I don't. I mean, we'll see. But Skinamarink was fucking awesome. So, I don't know. Okay, yeah. No, this was a really good movie. I think that this is really strong direction. I think really like. Yeah, I think it's really strong direction that gives this like trance like sort of feel to it, and it's like talking about this like kind of, it's like visual style kind of gives this like sprawling, almost languid sense of the passage of time, I think, and it like how it passes through a lot of faces that are out of focus, like people that you're just passing by. So like that's just like, but in general, like just really really strong direction. I think really strong writing as well. There's a lot of really good imagery, super well acted. I think that like the ideas that it's getting into are really interesting, and I think it does a good job of exploring multiple sides of it, so it's not just talking about the same thing the whole time. If I had to level any criticism towards it, my only criticism might be that like I think maybe it takes a while to get where it needs to go. I think not that it's long. I never felt bored at any point, but I just do wonder if all of the stuff that's in, let's say, like the younger era and then the middle era, like if all of that is exactly how it needs to be. But I don't know what the movie is without that. So all in all, I don't have much to say negatively about this movie, but just didn't hit me as like my favorite thing ever. So I would definitely recommend this. I think just about anyone could get something out of this, because I think while it is quite an artful movie, I think it's also not like the most like challenging in the sense, not that like it has challenging ideas, but it's not like there's not a big barrier for entry, you know what I mean? It's not super hard to digest. But yeah, I would give it 4.5 stars. Great movie.
Interesting. So before I get into it, story time, actually safety information, bike safety PSA.
Bike safety, okay.
They don't tell you this in bike school. They tell you wear helmets. They don't say...
Yeah, Big Bikes doesn't want you to
wear.
do this.
They don't tell you to wear big bike goggles or something, shield your eyes, because they're out there.
Wait, what happened, Alex? What happened?
The studio bugs are out there. Remember what I said about the
Studio
bugs?
bugs,
Yeah.
eh?
Remember what I said about the bugs and how they don't live very long? Well, sometimes you're biking along and one of those stupid studio bugs goes into your fucking eyeball. And let me just say, not fun. I thought I would just get it out at the theater. I got there, wash my hands. Don't touch your eyeball with dirty hands. But I tried to like get the bug out with my finger, and it was wedged. It was wedged in there. One might say it was snug as a bug. And unfortunately, snug as a bug as it was, could not retrieve it with the tools at hand, which were none. I had no tools. So so there was a bug, not like on my eye, but like wedged between, like in the pink fleshy part. I looked up the words. It was between my caruncle and my something. I don't know. Sure. But the pink part, where you're close to your nose. Anyways, bug in my eye. Did probably affect my viewing experience somewhat. Sure. One might say I was a little peeved about the bug.
Right.
Again, I could see fine, so it's not like I was like half blind, like blinking or anything. But I did sit down to the theater. I sat down as feature presentation. Like the movie started immediately as soon as I sat down, because I was in the bathroom so long. Anyways, what did I think about this movie? I didn't quite love it. I didn't really particularly care for it. I think, look, the bug didn't help, but I also think I found some flaws with it. I found the characters to be a bit thin, and the chemistry, which the movie basically hinges on, to be pretty much not there. Like, I didn't look. It's about the two people, Nora and I'm not sure what his name is. I'm gonna look it up.
June. Hey June.
Hey June, thank you.
Yeah.
You were just ready. Thanks.
I got you, man.
Hey, it's an Sung. Is that June? No, it's Haesung. What are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. Shut up. You're terrible.
Who's the June guy?
I don't know. I'm on Letterboxd
okay.
right now. So the chemistry between Nora and Haesung, it was not as strong as I needed it to be, I guess. I found that for a story that's supposed to be about like, it's not about reincarnation, but in a way it sort of is, like thematically, and about like love that didn't work out and all that sort of stuff. It felt quite short, actually, and I also feel like because it was so short and condensed, it felt like we were like skimming over an idea instead of really like delving into it. I think the white guy character, while being like he's a necessary character, I guess, but like he was somehow the most developed character with the most nuanced. Look, Aidan's making funny faces at me, but he was the only one who I was like, this is someone who is having conflicting feelings and is having to like, I don't know. I just didn't feel it for the other characters. The visual direction's pretty good. I found some things that I was like, but there were also parts that I was like, really good stuff. So, yeah. And I just, like, all of this stems from the fact that I just did not connect emotionally to this movie whatsoever.
Because he was physically connecting with the bug.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, we'll get into this later, but me and that bug clearly have lots of yin-yang, but perhaps in a past life.
8,000 layers, one might say.
Perhaps in a past life I was married to that bug. Who knows? But
maybe in the next life you will be married to that bug.
Yeah, but I think the bug doesn't have to be a bug. It could be something else.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I didn't connect to it. It's a romance, and I was just kind of left numb from it. Maybe it was the bug, but I didn't care for it. It insists upon itself, to quote Peter Griffin. So yeah, would I recommend this? I don't know. I probably wouldn't, just because if I didn't enjoy it, why would I tell someone else to go see it? But lots of people love it, so maybe I would. I don't know. I gave it a 3.5, which I think is generous based on the glowing review I just gave. But I don't think this is the best movie of the year. I think maybe it's a case of this is the first like really prestige A24 movie of the year. Like I haven't seen a movie.
But critics, like, you're talking critical reviews. Freelance critics see movies like this all year.
Look, I can only say out my opinion.
I know. I'm just saying.
Opinion.
I think that observation is not accurate.
I don't know. I just didn't like it. So, Peter, what did you think? It's your turn.
Dude, I love this, by the way. I think you're having my After Sun moment. Like, during the After Sun episode, I was like, hey, guys, I didn't like the movie that much.
Yeah, but After Sun is great.
And now you're like, guys, I think Past Life is kind of bad. But I enjoyed the movie very much. Greta Lee Clears, by the way, I think she's having a real good year with Spider-Verse and now this movie. Sort of both showcasing. She was Layla. She was the AI dude.
An incredibly small role in Spider-Verse, so I think it's bold of you to say she's having a great year between.
Well, I mean, hey, like,
hardly in.
I mean, like, I think it's fantastic. So she's thriving in a small, unique role in a pop culture phenomenon, and also over here, like being a great actress in past lives in small indie films. I think that's fantastic. I really like this movie. I think. This is like one of my favorite genre movies. It's like the story itself is so simple, like so normal, so human, but and the way this whole movie presents the story to you is in a very mellow sort of way. Like it never forces anything on you, but like that happens to get the most emotion out of me as a person viewing the movie. So it's powerful, it's emotional, but it's also like so soft and mellow at the same time. just reminds me of movies like Lady Bird, Manchester by the Sea, stuff like that. It's like just a simple life story, but told in such a profound and beautiful way that you feel for the people involved in the story, and also gives you new perspective and meaning on life. And I really like that. This movie, as I said in my review, made me feel things. Like I was genuinely like rooting for certain people during the movie, and also I cried at the end, guys. Like when the credits rolled, I was crying. You know, I was not like fully in tears, but like tears were like rolling down. I was crying. It was a very beautiful film. I give it 4.5 out of 5. I think it's not a perfect film. Like I didn't really get the same like wow as I did for like Lady Bird, Manchester by the Sea, but I still think like it's just a really, really beautiful film that I think almost anyone can relate to. Like because like the movie, just really, really tiny spoiler here, like it's there.
No, just don't. Just don't.
Just don't. Okay,
we'll don't give me work to do.
We'll save it for later. Okay.
Just
but like I think people in like, you know, if you're like in your later teenage years, adults or old people, I think people in most stages of life can relate to this film one way or another, and it definitely offers you a new perspective on life, and that is why I recommend this to absolutely everyone. And I think it's a fantastic film.
Did you say you gave it a 4.5?
Yeah, I gave it a 4.5.
That's crazy. I was also crying.
I also gave it 4.5.
Oh, okay, I missed that. Yeah. You guys are crazy. Again, this is coming from...
Wait, you were also crying? Oh, for a different reason.
One of very few people who didn't like it, so you guys are on the majority here, so you win.
Yeah. But wait, you said you were also crying?
Yeah, no, I was also crying, but that was because there was a bug in my eye.
Yeah, okay, I was like,
It was set up.
That's for a different reason.
But... Peter, as the loser of the Predacritic game, you have a job to do.
I do.
You have to summarize this movie in 2 minutes.
Okay.
Can you do it?
Honestly, not bad. Not a bad film to do it. You know?
Spoiler alert. Pew, 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 pew.
Thank you. Spoilers beyond this point. So, Peter, I have the timer. No, I don't. I have the timer ready. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, go. 3, 2, 1, go.
So the movie features like two main characters, Haesung and Nora. And they're both from South Korea. They grew up together. They have this really intimate friendship going. And then when she was 12, Nora's family immigrated to America. And then they sort of like fell out of touch. And then 12 years later, when they're in their 20s, all of a sudden they reconnect based on a random Facebook comment on Nora's dad's new film. And then they reconnect. They Skype each other a bunch of times. But then they realize that even though they have so much feeling for each other, they just can't find a feasible way to see each other anytime soon. So Nora decides to call the relationship off, and that's when she meets Arthur, who's another like artist person who that she met in her artist residency. And they sort of grew apart after that. And then another 12 years later, Nora is now married to Arthur, and they are living in New York, and they were married partly for love and partly because Nora needs a green card to keep staying in the United States. So it's sort of like a mixed situation going on there. And then she finds out that Haesung is actually going to come visit her in New York soon. And then they meet up, so much emotion, like so much things to say to each other. And Arthur at that point feels a little bit like some doubt with his relationship because he feels like he's not meant for her. She deserves someone more special, and that is sort of like when the movie also wraps up as well. Like it ends with like basically Haesung and Nora having a really deep conversation about past lives and Ingyung, basically them saying that hey, this might just be a past life and we'll be in a relationship in the future in the next life. And then it ends with Nora walking back to her apartment, sending Haesung to the airport.
You're done.
Is that good? Did I miss anything?
That was a good job.
Okay.
I didn't think you were going to have trouble recapping a movie that is...
90 minutes? 100?
Just
a bit more.
over. I think it's 145, yeah?
106.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that translates to an hour 45. So
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
it's a relatively short movie, not quite 90, but good job. Those are the two most harmful words in the English language. That's a Whiplash reference. Now, the question: what was your favorite part? Peter, let's hear from you.
Okay. Do we want to get into cinematography at all, or do we just want to
say what your favorite part
your
is?
heart desires.
Answer the question.
I'll do like a unique favorite part to get us started. Then, actually, like one of the shots, one of my favorite shots is when they first. I find like the border agency shots in this film somehow really unique and like interesting. Is when they first arrived, I think, at Canada, actually.
Yeah,
I think
in
they
Toronto.
were announcing it's at Pearson's airport. And there's this shot where Nora's parents were conversing with like the border agent over the desk. And this sort of like shot slowly pans down and you see like, like four people like in four different directions, but somehow all fit into the same shot. It's sort of Wes Anderson-esque. I don't know, like composition wise, but I thought that was like a super cool shot. And then there's like another sort of border agency interaction scene later on when they were coming back into the U.S. and like the whole interaction and how that's structured. I mean, less pretty than the first one, but also like kind of unique. You know, I just thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Nice.
That was awesome. Yeah.
If I had to guess what your favorite part was, I would not have guessed the border crossings. That is an interesting. That is a unique answer to this question.
I mean, like that. I just thought that was a really cool shot. I mean, is it a favorite part? Probably not, but like really cool shot.
Okay, sure.
Thought I'd bring it up.
Aidan, what would you say is your favorite part?
We'll get into some of the specifics as to why I like this so much later, but I really, really like. There's a part in the movie where they're kind of. This is the first time that the two main characters have actually like reunited like in person. So like he's in New York, and the way that the shot choice that is used when they meet each other and the side of the frame that they are on and the way that they juxtapose that with editing with them playing as kids, I think is like really, really smart. I think it's really genius actually. And I think I really, really, really enjoyed that. And we'll get into some of the... I don't like... It's kind of my whole spiel of the movie as to why I like it so much, but I think it's an example of this movie having very strong visual language and visual storytelling.
This is the meeting up at the park, right?
Yeah.
Beside the pond? Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'll give my favorite. Usually our favorite parts take us down crazy tangents, and this is like the most straightforward.
Don't worry, I got you.
Given a brief, succinct answer and be like, cool, next. My favorite part. The ending. Got you. Just kidding. I'll give a real one. I liked the part. There was one shot where I think it was Hae-sung in the New York hotel lobby or something eating by himself. And it was this sad kind of isolation.
Is it through the window?
Yeah,
I think so. And like
window.
very high angle, and he's in a weird corner, like boxed in or something. That was cool. I like
and
that.
you could tell he was eating a burger too. By the way,
I couldn't tell. Maybe you were paying attention to what he was eating.
Yeah,
I was not
paying
focusing on
attention to
that
the food.
particular detail. Of course, foodie over here. Cool. So it seems we've all talked about shots. So visual direction. This is actually interesting because it's Celine Song. Yeah, is her name. She comes from a play background. I don't know if she's a playwright or a director of plays. Director, playwright, and screenwriter. So it's interesting that the visuals were so strong in this movie, which they definitely are. I think right down the alley of like what A24 likes in the films they distribute. Celine very much like doesn't go for like traditional coverage and finds like interesting ways to shoot a scene and looking at I think details, which is really nice. There's lots of details, wide shots. There was a lot of good wide shots that I liked. And I think also she plays with like shadow and focus a little bit. I did see this a while ago, so I'm starting to forget. But
what I'll say, and I got into this a little bit in my non-spoiler review, but I really, really love like the passage of time and the influence of time and the people you pass and the people that you interact with in your life are really important themes. And I like how there are a lot of shots that are just like simple trucking shots that are just kind of passing along a bunch of people who are all out of focus. And it's this idea that like any one of these people could be someone who's really important, could be someone that maybe in a past life or whatever, or in another life you have this great relationship with. But for now, within this life, they're just people you pass by. And it's this slow kind of sprawling thing. Like, I think the visual language really gave me this impression of like time is like a flat circle a little bit, like this idea. I've been watching True Detective, so that's why that phrase is stuck in my head.
Time is a flat circle.
Yeah. But yeah, like this idea that it's like simultaneously something that goes by in the blink of an eye, but also something that just like doesn't change everything. Not everything changes with time, but some things do. And I think that the perspective on that is really, really great. And I think that there's a lot of that in general where it's like the characters are being looked at, and I think they're being looked at in a similar way by the camera throughout the three main sections. But I also think there are slight variations that like give this impression of sameness but also difference throughout time and within one's character. And I think that I really, really loved the visual direction in this movie for those reasons.
Interesting. Peter, do you have any takes on the cinematography?
Well, I just thought like like when we actually look at the visual of this film, it's actually nothing complex in my opinion. Like, you know, from just a very basic, I mean, I'm sure most people picked up on this. When they're saying goodbye to each other when she's about to leave Korea, one person is heading sort of straight and then she's going up the stairs, you know, the physical separation. And like that's been used a lot throughout the film, you know, whether it's another really obvious example is at the very end when they're at the bar. You know, the two gentlemen were like sitting on two sides and Nora was sitting in the middle, and there's literally like a physical separation between Arthur and Haesun. And when Nora leaves to go to the washroom, I presume, then they can actually communicate because the thing separating them. And also in the bar, you know, like, and I love how this movie opens, by the way. I think it's such a cool way to open. It's like, just like a random couple probably just gossiping, oh, who do you think these people are? And that was also like really cool. Just like see her attention. Like she's, even though there are two people on both sides of her, she like her head is like fully turned towards Haesun and talking to Haesun. Like you can obviously see like the husband Arthur's like really uncomfortable in the situation. So like really simple visual language that are just so effective and powerful that, you know, works.
Yeah, and like I said, I think building on exactly what you're saying, in that scene, what's so great is like the way that the coverage plays with editing too. Like how throughout the conversation between the three in the bar, like the husband is like phased out gradually, and the coverage changes that like he's almost like non-existent at a certain point anymore, and then it chooses really good times to bring him back into it, and like suddenly he's present again. And I think it does that really well, and I also like that opening a lot, Peter.
The opening is very interesting. I liked when she looked at the camera. That was fun. I think that...
Oh, I have one more thing to say about cinematography too. But
yeah, go for it.
Sure. Yeah, the posture of the actors is great in this movie. The actors are doing really, really good physical acting, I think. Like the way they're sitting. I don't mean like
I was like they have really good posture.
No.
Classically trained.
The way they sit, the way that they physically respond to each other, the way that they like kind of some of them like sit into their body. Like I love the way how Nora is like she kind of like she sits back in this like relaxed way, particularly like on the stairs. When the what's the guy's name?
Arthur.
Other guy.
Haesun.
Soon, when he first gets to New York, like, and they're talking in that, like, by the water there, like, the way they're sitting around each other is, like, it's this, like, there's a lot of tension just in, like, the image itself, where it's, like, they're kind of, like, both trying to be relaxed, but clearly aren't. And I think, like, the shot choice really exemplifies that by just, emphasizes that by just, like, composing a really good two-shot and just letting them be there together. Like, the use of two shots, I think, is really good in this movie. Sorry, Peter, what are you saying?
And also, like, in the exact same shot, like, holy shit, they're literally around bunch of couples that are all kissing.
Yeah, that's a constant thing in the film. There are always couples in the background.
I know.
Or something. Yeah.
It's like,
okay, for me, that's something where I was like, okay, come on, like that for me, that was a little eye rolly of like, I can clearly see what you're doing here, and it's maybe a bit much. But
okay, but what does that mean? I'll put you on the spot then. What does that mean? Because I don't think that's a clear, like, I don't think that's an exact. I don't think it's so obvious what they're saying by that.
It's okay. You've got the couple, or they're not a couple, but the two people who have this romantic kind of sort of relationship, and then all around them is like love, and I just think that having like it was exclusively people either making out or on dates. There was no one who was just walking by themselves. Like, I think there's a degree of subtlety where you can have a mixture where there's not none and there's not only. I was saying, I think there's even an admission in your answer there. There is subtlety, because I think it is more than just there's love around them. Like, because the idea of being an onlooker and, like, projecting your own ideas onto the people that you see is very, very important. And so, like, the way that you perceive these couples and the way we perceive each other in relation to each other is very important to this movie. And so I think, like... So it's subjective? You're saying, is it a subjective view of the scene? So, like, we're seeing it through the character's lens, perhaps?
No, not necessarily. I'm saying that, like, the shot is composed in such a way that, like, we are supposed to be... Like, especially it ties in with the opening, where, like, a person is not, to you, the exact same as what they are to another person. And from, like, the perspective of any individual, the same person is a different person, given their experiences with them and what they have projected and the things that they associate. And so that also applies to strangers, and it ties into the beginning. It's like, if you saw that scene at the bar, like, what do you think? Like, what is the meaning that you associate with these people? What is, like, the text being written amongst them? You know, when you're reading people in real life. And so this idea of, like, because not all the couples are doing the same thing, and so it's if you do notice it, you look and you see how some are doing this, some sit in a certain way, some react this way around each other. And considering, like, how focused this movie is on relationships and, like, what they mean and how they mean different things to different people, I think that it is really important to do that. And I don't think it's overbearing, because I think that there are a lot of scenes where I think the focus is strong enough in the scenes that you can easily just, like, not be paying attention to it, and then you just notice it every now and then.
Sure.
I agree. And I think with this movie, and especially being, like, the two people in that scene, being Nora and Hae-soon, like, they both have this understanding of Yin-Yung that they both know. So, like for them, you know, they understand the significance of, you know, in order for two people to date in this lifetime, you know, there's just so much in their past lives happening already. So that's one thing. And then the other one is to sort of, like, to the audience, like, there is obviously some romantic tension between Nora and Hae-soon. And in order for them to, you know, to just hold back, to just, like, like, for us it's excruciating. It's like, oh my god, you two obviously like each other. But, like, for them, because their life has put them in a circumstance that they can't be with each other anymore, at least not in a good way, that won't ruin each other's lives. You know, they need to be the one to sort of practice discipline and actually, like, hold themselves back in order for them to preserve the peace that they have now. It's just like, and amongst like, so much romantic tension in there because a bunch of people kissing, making out, whatever. It's just like, like it hurts, man. Like seeing these two act this way, and also like the amount of restraint they need to show in order for to preserve this sort of peace that they have between each other.
Yeah. This might just be like okay. From my perspective, I actually find this movie rather emotionally distant at times. I don't think necessarily the whole time, but I think a lot of the time the camera even chooses an objective perspective, and I can't think of a lot of instances. I think maybe there's times where a movie doesn't have to pick one, so it switches it up. Sometimes it's subjective and getting with the characters and getting closer, but a lot of the times it's choosing wides so that your eye can look between the characters and make up your own story, I suppose. But for that reason, I would say I was not hoping they would have. I don't know. I was not hoping they'd get together so bad that it hurt me. I didn't feel that. But I will say another pro in the column of cinematography: the shot in the subway where they're in a different car and the camera is in. The camera and the people are in different cars, and then the cars turn a corner or something, and the window lines up, and you see them, and also they're almost like touching on the subway pole thing. Great stuff. I remember seeing that in the trailer, and that's kind of what sold the movie for me. There was a time where I was excited to see this movie, so it's not like that. But that being said, I will say for cinematography, there was one scene that I did not like how it was filmed. I actually found it quite bad. It's when Nora and Arthur are in bed, and it's not quite
as dark.
It's so dark. It's so dark and blue, and I can't see anything. Muddy is a great word.
Wait, is
light
it the...
your night scenes. Don't be afraid of lighting your night scenes. It can be motivated by something, a source, or doesn't have to be. We can just light the scene so I can see it.
Wait,
that's
it's
my
the
PSA,
fried
that's
chicken
all.
scene? Is that the one you're referring to?
No,
No.
it's after. I think it's after the first day with Haesung. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think it's that egregious because
Yeah, I didn't find that one that bad.
It is muddy for sure, and I think that you can definitely get some more texture in there. I do it. I think it should be lit differently than that, but I think there is actually some value in not being able to quite read their faces and having a little bit of emotional distance from them there. I actually think is really important. But yeah, I that's not the best one. But I don't know. It's also just one scene.
It is one scene. Fair enough. I just wanted to give my lighting, contrast PSA. Well, let's talk about characters. Yeah, let's talk about characters.
Sure.
So, I mean, obviously we're going to have different takes on this, but I can only speak for myself. I think, and I'll elaborate on what I was saying in my non-spoiler review. Basically, my issue with this is I don't know who Nora is on her own. I don't know what her interior life is like. Whereas, I know she's a writer, but that's about it. I feel like the movie really frames her in her relation to other men, specifically. It's a lot of, who she is with Haesung and who she is with Arthur. I don't know who she is. And I think Arthur gets a lot of complex kind of feelings to play with, right? He knows he's feeling jealousy, and he is trying. He's quite admirably handling it well. He's saying even though he, has strong negative feelings about all of what's going on, he's being quite supportive and trying his best, despite also just having self confidence issues, or not confidence, self worth. I think a little bit. Anyways, I also think Haesung's maybe even a little more developed as one of two different options. But for me, I didn't think Nora was super well developed.
I disagree.
Thoughts? Fair enough.
I disagree with that. I think that Nora is... So the movie is Past Lives, right? And I think that it's talking about past lives. I think both on, like, it's getting you to think about the concept of reincarnation, sure. I think more importantly, actually, it's talking about the different people you are throughout your life. And,
That makes sense.
So Nora leaves Korea and is not able to speak the same language that she grew up speaking. And so there's a certain, there's literally a way of thinking that she is barred from, that no one can really give her where she is. And we know that from, a few things, so we know that she only speaks Korean with her mom. She says that when she's talking to Haesun. And we also know that when she talks about how, her Korean friends in America are not, Korean, they're, Korean American. She's talking about that. And so it's, there's a part of herself that she feels like she doesn't have access to. And the reason why Haesun is so important is because what he represents to her is access into a part of her that she felt like she had to, kill off. And I think that, that's depicted really, really well. And so, she's struggling with what I think is genuine love for her husband, but she's a split person. She's someone who's been split in two. And I think that, that's represented both by the conflict between the two men, but also, just within herself as well. She talks about, I don't cry anymore. And, all these things that, are separate things that she has access to, that feels like she doesn't have access to anymore. And that's why this relationship is so compelling for her. And again, tying into this idea of, people mean different things to different people. And I think that, that's a really, profound struggle, because it's both a struggle on the level of just, she is just love for this person, but also just on the level of, this is what, it's fighting to, understand herself. And I also really like how in the end, she cries in the end, and it's this idea of, she doesn't have exact access to this older version of herself, but there's, it's not just, it washes away. I don't know. I mean, I don't need to know more about, what she does in day-to-day, other than, being a writer and different things. I think you could probably dissect that and talk about what's important about that. But, no, I think that she actually has really interesting conflicts.
Nice. We need a signal to be you've gone over time. We need
I can't.
No, that was fine.
No, I'm vetoing that. I cannot explain my thoughts if
Let
I'm
him cook.
giving a whole thing.
Let him cook. Okay. Rebuttal. I will say that I think I have read this movie as a story of an immigrant story, and I think that reading of the film resonates more for me.
But that can apply to anyone. The ideas can be applied to anyone. But yeah, anyway.
Sure. Okay, let me cook. I think the two men representing her two homes, right? Her past self in Korea and just Korea in general, and then Arthur representing New York and just I guess the Western world, whatever. But he's also a writer, which is kind of her new life. I see that as very interesting. And so then reading the goodbye, there's more meaning baked into it of saying goodbye to her former home, her past life again. I think that means more to me, not from personal experience, but just that I understand, I guess. Beyond being symbols of those things of, immigrants and the former home and the current home, again, I don't think I didn't see the level of nuance I was looking for, I guess. But I don't think I'm gonna change on that. That's just, you know what, opinion, and I'm not gonna like I'm not gonna re-explain myself on that. Like that's a vibe, man. So Peter, what did you think though?
I think like I actually focused less so like I guess like I relate to a lot of things that she gone through, like being an immigrant myself and everything. But actually like I focused less so on the immigrant part of the story. I'm more so on like the romance and the love part of the story. And I thought like this movie, like if we look at the two goodbyes in parallel, like in the first time and the second time, and how these two reacted, because like if you think about it, the last time that Hasten and Nora saw each other before they finally meet up again in New York was when they were 12 years old and saying goodbye. And like the parallel between the two sort of farewell scenes is actually really interesting, because like in the first time it was very much like we don't understand what is going on, like it's very sudden, very rushed, and we're saying goodbye. And this time there's just so much more significance in the goodbye compared to the first time, and there's just so much weight into it that I thought that was really beautiful. But anyways, on your comments about you know, you don't feel like Nora's as well developed as a character and less nuanced, I think it's different between movies. Like there are like, for example, science fiction films that I want to know. It's like, oh, how does this mechanic works? How does this work in this world? But there are also stories where you only need a limited understanding of the characters in order for the stories to work. And this is like one of the stories that I don't need to know more. Like if I know more, I feel like, you know, it's almost like intruding upon the mystery that's supposed to be there in the story. Like I don't need to know it's like what Nora, you know, did in the 12 years. I just need to know that, oh, she's married now, and she still has feelings for Hasten, and what happened in Hasten in the meantime. Like I just need short snippets in order for me to appreciate and enjoy the story. I don't really need like a full summary or synopsis of what went down in these 12 years or what happened in like the lives.
I don't think that's a good summary of what my argument was. I think you're paraphrasing it incorrectly, but
okay,
sure,
sorry.
man. Anyways, Aidan, you raised your hand, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I don't think, like, well, it definitely is an immigrant story, and I think that that's an integral part of it. I think that, like, and especially I like the way that the specific use of language and communication and communication breakdown, not just in difference between Korean and English, but also just over Zoom and how that's a different form of communication.
It's like used as a backdrop in my opinion.
That's interesting too. But I think that very much those ideas of like older parts of yourself and older lives that you've lived within your life and like things you can't access and people who know you a certain way and how that makes you change your behavior. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there are people you meet who remind you of certain parts of yourself that you had forgotten about. There are certain people that represent different things to you. And I think that, I don't think it's fair to just say it's an immigrant story about having two homes. Because I think, like, because you said it's without nuance. I think even within, like, to me, that's a bit of a reductionist explanation of what's going on here. So if you explain it without nuance, then it doesn't have nuance. But I think that it has a lot more nuance than that.
Okay, I feel like you guys are giving me bad faith interpretations of my arguments. I'm saying that the reading of the film thematically that gave more of a intellectual stimulation for me was the immigrant story, whereas I got nothing from the romance. That's what I'm trying to say.
That's fine.
The romance
did nothing for me.
That's not contradictory from what I'm saying.
You're saying that I'm looking at it only one way, which is not true. I'm saying
that's not true. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, whatever.
Okay, yeah, I'll say my last piece and then like let's not. I won't reset.
I have other points.
No. Okay. Yeah, what I'm saying is that like I don't think it's fair to like to even just frame it like this is an immigrant story. I don't think that's even really the main focus. I think this movie is specifically trying to do a more general thing, and I think it's doing a good job of that.
There's a shot where the two of Haesung and Nora are on a boat circling the Statue of Liberty. It's an immigrant story.
No, oh my fucking god, you're saying that as if that's different from what I'm saying, but I'm saying it's weaving in this grander narrative about past lives with an immigrant story in a way that can apply to a bunch of other people, but also applies to this specific thing. And even within that one scene, like there's a really great line where they see the Statue of Liberty from one way, and then they're talking and like they go along like the passage of the water, and then they see it from another perspective, and it's like now that's a different thing. Now we're seeing this thing differently on the other side of the passage of time. Like even within the example you give, there's more going on there.
Now I'm the one to say is I don't know how that's contradictory to what I'm saying. I don't like I'm labeling it as a story about immigrants, but whatever. Let's just I want to not continue talking about this. Peter, what's up?
No, I think your interpretation is fine. It's like the love story didn't really work for you, so like you think like the immigrant interpretation of the film is more interesting. Is that what you're trying to get at?
Correct.
Maybe?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's
that.
fair. Like that's like I mean love story stuff is subjective, so I don't have a problem with that. I think that's fine.
Did you have an actual point, or you just?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I want to talk about another character a character that you actually like, and actually I think he's very well developed as well. I want to talk about Arthur. So. Initially, when I was watching the movie, I was like, Arthur, what the fuck are you doing, man? This is self-sabotage behavior. You're like, dude, it's like, oh my god, you're meant for each other. Like, I'm nothing compared to him. I'm so normal. And he's like this special, like, childhood sweetheart from Korea. I was like, what the fuck are you doing, man? You're literally not helping yourself. But then, as the movie was going on, I was sort of thinking, like, why the fuck will he do that? But then, it's like, it's so weird, but this is so human. Like, this is exactly what we do, you know? It's like, in these situations where we're literally, like, we already have, like, maybe he has, like, existing, like, self-worth problems or something like that. I don't know. But, like, it's sort of, these things get amplified when you're put in a situation like this. And you're really questioning if, like, you are right for this person in your life that, you know, that you sort of got married to under, like, not just pure love, because, like, they said it in the movie and they said it very openly that it's because, you know, they were in the same artist residency and then they met each other, and also she really needs a green card so she can stay in the country, so that's why they decide to get married really quickly. So, like, it's not just pure love. So already there's this sort of mix of doubt within the relationship, and Haesung's appearance and arrival just amplified that. And I just find that, like, even though it's so strange upon first look, but, like, everything he says and does is just so understandable and human. And I just thought, like, whoever wrote the script, thumbs up to you. And his performance, absolutely amazing. Like, there's really a sense of, like, should I be in her life? Do I deserve her? This sort of feeling in his delivery, and I just thought that was lovely. Like, that's really beautiful.
Yeah, and I think what I like about him as well is that, like, I think within what you're saying as well is that like they also do genuinely love each other in a way too. Like, I think that's made pretty clear as well. Like, it's not like that. There's complexities to that and there's nuance to it, but I think it's that, like, that relationship and how the two of them treat it differently, and like how the two of them express love differently, and what the two of them mean to each other, and how that's not necessarily the same thing. Like, I think that's really well done. And so I think that, like, he's a really good character in and of himself, but also just the relationship between him and Nora is also really well written.
Yeah, like I said earlier, like, he was, I think, the best written character. I mean, I don't think we're going to agree on that necessarily.
Yeah, I wouldn't say best, but I also wouldn't rank it, to be fair. But yeah.
This is just coming out of a feeling that there was only 3 characters, that the other 2 were flat. So by necessity, the only one was going to be more complex. And I think he's a character that I was probably going to find annoying, because I'm like, shut up, let the romance happen. But also, just, like, the fact that he's kind of like a little bit pathetic that makes him sympathetic, I think is what makes that work.
Well, I think that he's honest too. Like he's
yes,
like he's being very honest, and he's not trying to be like deceitful, and like he's dealing with his feelings in like a somewhat like a pretty mature way. And I think that like it's a strength of the movie that you don't necessarily just go like, nah, break up with him. Like, like I personally, like, I wasn't like rooting super hard for Nora and Hae-soon by the end of the movie. Like I honestly was probably rooting for her to not get with him, because I was just like, well, no, like you have this guy, like you've built this whole new life. But I think it's really interesting. Like I think the conflict there is really, really great.
What can we say?
Okay, I have one more point about Arthur. I think.
Oh yeah, okay. Then yeah, cool.
Like, and on top of all that, I think it's just like there's just always like, especially like when they're hanging out in the bar, like especially when you see how like Nora's like completely facing Hae-soon and everything. Like, I feel like in his like expression and everything, he can feel her almost slipping away, and he's scared too. You know what I mean? And I feel like especially when he's talking, like he has this sort of dry voice that gives you the sense of like he's like a deeply melancholic person. and like at the very end, it's like like I feel like he sometimes it's like, even though the other person loves you, but because the fact that you question it, you sort of feel like that love is fake too. I don't know if you guys know what I'm getting at, but like it's like this sort of self-imposed doubt on Nora's love for him. And I think like the fact that he's not that big of a character, to be honest. Like in terms of the dialogue wise, he's like probably like the smallest out of the three main characters. And the fact that we got all of that out from like a much smaller role compared to the Hae-soon and Nora, it's just very impressive and really cool.
Yeah. Last thing on characters, I won't go into my spiel. I also think Hae-soon is a very interesting character, and there's a lot of stuff going on that I think is really interesting. I don't know if it's worth getting into.
Really? Well, wait, actually, I'm interested to hear this.
Well,
like
I was gonna say, like, I wanted to get into my point, which I've called "Is it Inyon?" but it encompasses a bunch of stuff. So I'll give my counter argument, and maybe this will lead into your point.
Sure.
In that, I don't know. I find it odd that she leaves when she's 12, and looking at it purely from not a thematic standpoint and from entrenched in the realities of the characters, why he is obsessed with her 12 years later. At 24, why is he obsessed with the girl he knew at 12? That is something that I cannot...
I have an answer for you.
Get over if we're not looking at it thematically, or
that's
like
not a real distinction.
Well, okay, no, let me explain. So like if you're looking at it from like this is an epic, or I want to say lore, legend, like a more abstract story as opposed to a very real story. If you're if we imagine that as a spectrum, leaving someone at 12 and being so obsessed with them that you're going to see them 24 years later in New York and you can't stop thinking about it, like, that makes sense more on the lore legend side for me. Again, this is all subjective, so, you know, other people are going to feel other things. But I felt this movie was more or less leaning to the realism, so that's my problem. What did you think about Hae-sung, though?
Yeah, so I'll say, like, for one thing, I do want to point out the 24 years gap. Like, they basically dated between that. Like the 12-year mark, like, they essentially dated. Like, that was a long-distance relationship is essentially what they did. But, like...
When? When?
When they're Skyping.
But that was... How long was that? Like a year?
That's 12 years. Yeah. Well, it's 12 years. Yeah.
They weren't dating for 12 years.
No, I know. I'm saying it's like a year-long span. But I'm saying, like... What I mean when I say that the distinction between, like, why are the characters doing it and what is the thematic reason, I don't think those are that different in this movie. I agree that I do understand what you're saying. It's like a writer's perspective of like, okay, well, I know I want the characters to do this thing because it means that, but how do I motivate it? Like, is that kind of the, like, that's kind of the vibe?
I think he's asking mainly about like in the first 12 years. It's like when she leaves when she's 12,
Sure.
and why does he look for her when they're in their 20s?
Because as a human being, not looking at it from a filmmaker or a writing perspective, the second 12 years, that makes sense. You've dated as adults over Zoom, and that's something maybe there's like unchecked desire that you never got over. Sure, I buy that. The first 12 years, you were children. You were in 5th grade or something. I don't know.
It's what they mean to each other, and it's the way that Nora makes him view himself that's important. Like, a really good aspect of this character is that he feels like a failure. Like, he thinks he is a failure, and that is like a clear
Does
thing.
he?
That is yes. He's
that is
constantly
something literally did not read.
He is
Or I don't remember.
That's
I don't remember. I saw it a while ago, to be fair.
Okay, yeah. He's constantly talking about how, like, yeah, like, I'm just ordinary, like, oh, I was supposed to do this. And as a kid with Nora, he was an overachiever. Those two together were, like, the team, and, like, they were constantly competing, and he felt like Nora brought out the best in him. And I think that it really gives home this feeling that, like, he has not, like, felt like he is competent and, like, he has had the best brought out of him in those 12 years. And I don't think that that's actually that much of a stretch. Like, it's the same. It's a similar thing as, like, if you did really well in school, like when you were like 12, and then for whatever reason that dropped off. Like, there are people that are still pining after that, and like still thinking about that, and still being like, yeah, like I was a gifted kid or whatever. And it's like trying to hold on to
Sledgehammer
that.
Man.
Sort of. Yeah, sort of. But like, yeah, I think that like. Yeah, sort of. But I think that like. It's also important to note that he's just, like, passively looking out for her. I don't think he's not, like, obsessed with her at the first 12-year mark. It's just that, like, he just put out a Facebook post that's like, hey, I used to go to school with this girl. And I buy that he's been thinking about her because, again, he's not where he wants to be in life. And she reminds him of a time when he felt like he was excelling and doing well and, like, he was top of whatever. And so, like, it's just, like, a passive thing that he reaches out. And then when they see each other, it like, feels important. And, yes, that's thematically important because it's, like, this idea of in young and whatever in past lives. But I think it also just, like, I buy that. I buy that given where those two characters are at, that one of them feeling like she doesn't have access. They both feel like they don't have access to this past self. And for whatever reason, they want it. And they bring it out of each other. And so, like, they're using each other to access past versions of themselves that, for whatever reason, they crave.
I like that reading. I do think that I see it. I see the. It's coming back to me, but like the failure aspect. For me, I don't think there was enough of it. I think, especially for him, like I think if that was something they wanted to drive home of feeling like a failure. I didn't feel like I got enough of his side. It is centered from Nora's perspective, so there's a given that there's not going to be as much for him. Honestly, I might have liked this movie better if it was longer. I think that for a story about past lives, and it feels like a grander story than what ultimately came out. I think, well, let me cook. I think I needed more time with Nora as a person by herself if the whole point is who Nora is at different times. That's something that I'm just going to need because I feel like, for a story about who you used to be, I don't know who she used to be. I don't know who she is. I don't know any of that because I haven't seen her on her own. I haven't, or like little bits, but I don't get a sense of who this character is. And that's a problem for me.
But you don't. I would argue you don't need to see her on her own in this movie.
Yeah, you don't need that to appreciate the story.
Because it's about relationships, and it's about how like the different relationships she gets into, and how that reflects who she is and what she's been going through and how she's changed. I think you do get enough of that in each thing, and I guess that's just an agree to disagree. Like I think you get that enough, And as for the runtime, one of the things I love about this movie a lot is that it does treat these really grand ideas with just a really simple story. And I don't think this should be long. I actually think that like I cannot imagine what like another scene of this movie would be. I don't think that they should have done that.
I think ending is like abrupt with purpose. You know what I mean? Like
the ending is not the problem.
I did feel like, you know, a little unsatisfied at the end, but I do think it is the correct way to end it.
I didn't feel unsatisfied at all.
No.
I think maybe the last half an hour is where it was always supposed to end up.
I think
the
most of the best parts were
most of the New York sightseeing bits are more or less what they should be. I think my problem is in the setup, personally. Again, I think this.
I don't think that's a length problem though. Even if like you want it differently, I don't think that's a runtime thing.
Maybe, I don't know. I think also personally, I might have said this already, but I never felt the chemistry super strongly between Haesung and Nora. I just didn't. Sorry,
sure.
But
I very much did. I'll say that. I
very much did as well.
The scenes with each other I felt were very tense.
Yeah. And I think again the issue for me is they met when they were 12, so I don't it's so short when we see them at the start that I don't know really why he likes her. I guess it was the competitive angle we were talking about, and I think I was starting to like feel it in the Zoom, but when they're just in New York, it's a lot of staring at each other.
Yeah, because they can't, bro. They have so much to say to each other, but they can't.
Yeah, but I feel like chemistry is more than that. Chemistry is more than just staring like googly eyed.
No, but that's not what they're doing. Like I was saying, like the posture is very, very important, and like the way that they are physically responding to each other, very, very important. I will say, I think it's less about. This is the last thing I'll say on this, I promise, because I've said this a million times, or I've harped on this way too much, but. It's less about how much he liked her when he was 12 and more about the way he's remembering it later in his life. So I don't think it's not important. I don't think it's less important that like he had a crush on this girl when he was 12. It's just the way he's remembering it. That's really important. But whatever.
Okay, Aidan, I'm going to help you out here. Then I'll get to my point. I think they literally said it in the movie. It's like, I think when they're saying goodbye, the Uber... and he was like that Nora that you remember me as doesn't exist anymore. I've left her with you. Like I think that's literally what Nora said. You know, so like literally a piece of herself is like with him because he represents the past life like you're talking about of the Nora who's like 12 years old in Korea, super competitive, blah blah blah. So. I think you're right about that. But I just want to quickly talk about why I think, like at least I personally was very convinced that they did have feelings for each other. I did really just like the subtle ways and the low key mellow ways that the film used to show that. Like from just really basics, like oh my god, you did better than me in school, and I'm crying, that type of shit. To like, you know, how excited they both were when they were about to jump on a Skype call, you know, she's like quickly fixing her hair, you know, it's like, oh my god, I gotta get home, she's smiling on her way home and everything, and then to like, just like super lovely, like literally like virtual sightseeing of Skyping through like a mountain in Korea or something, and also, you know, like obviously there's technical difficulty, so like, one of the ways they represent passage of time is just literally them, hello, can you hear me? Is my mic working? You know, throughout like different points in time. Like, I think that's just a super cool and lovely way to show like, you know, their relationship evolved in like the span of, I don't know, 12 months you said, when they, you know, saw each other again when they were in their 20s. So, I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I like the Skype era. Yeah. Brought me back. I don't have anything more to say. Do you guys have anything you want to bring up?
Well, I do. Sorry, you go, Peter.
Well, I have something to say about Yin Yang. I'm not sure if we want to get into that, but Aidan, what were you...
Well, I was going to... This is kind of related, but I was just going to talk about... I really love the scene... It's written down here with the bisected face, and by that I mean like the statue that is like two faces, but also cool one statue. Face that they're playing on. Yeah. So yeah, I love that. I love that the way that it parallels, like I said, with them meeting in New York, and the way that they align, like their faces align in a similar way to the way the statue is framed, and it's edited in such a way that draws comparison as well, and like this idea of like they together, like this concept of a relationship is like being this like living thing. Like I think that on one level the bisected face fate that's cut into works on like a metaphor for like the past lives thing, and how like Nora is split between these two people, and so is Hae Sung, like in different ways as well. But then I think it also ties into an idea of a relationship being like a living, breathing thing, and like it's almost like if you look at each person as a text that has like certain meanings, and people can assign different meanings to different things and whatever, and you're a product of a variety of influences, like a relationship is almost a thing in its own right, and it's a constant mediation and negotiation between two people. And I don't even just mean like a romantic relationship, I just mean like what the connection between two people means is so dynamic and so so subject to change, that I think like it can almost be characterized as like a living, breathing thing, almost as like it's a person in and of itself, such that when you're with that other person, like it's almost like you become part of that greater thing. And I think that it's when they cut from that to them as adults, where there's clear distance between them, and it's like parts of them want to be that thing together, but like they can't, and it's this disjunction between them. And so I just thought it was a really, really good visual metaphor that touches on a lot of things I've been talking about.
Yeah, and even Nora said during the film, it's like, I think they were talking about like arguments between her and Arthur. It's like she referenced their relationship as planting two trees in the same pot, and
Yeah.
the roots need time to like, figure things out. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I got, though. That's the last thing I wanted to say.
I thought you had something about Inyan, Peter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Go for it.
I just okay. This is my favorite part of the film. The whole Yin Yang thing. I think like we hear these things all the time. It's like right person, wrong time. It didn't work out. Wrong person, right time. It didn't work out. Oh, it's the wrong person, wrong time. And I think Yin Yang, like at least this movie's interpretation of it, just like plays so much, like such a lovely explanation and interpretation of relationships in life. It's like the fact that like life is kind of crazy. Like the fact that we are where we are is like the accumulation and summation of like millions and thousands of decisions that other people made. That the fact that we're seeing a random person on the street, it's because they decide to walk that street that day for this reason, and the reason why they were there in the first place is because a list of a whole bunch of other reasons, other decisions that they made. And I think this movie, like the fact that I've always been like really into this sort of interpretation of life and everything, and the fact that you're able to represent this in an artistic way on a big screen, I think is just something just surreal to see, for me at least. And like the interpretation of everything that you do in your current life, whether it's like they reference like inanimate objects too. It's like it's like we could be branches that I could be a branch that you as a bird rested on, like in our past lives. Like all of these different things connecting to each other is just really lovely, and also sort of places more significance to everyday interactions. It's like the fact that we're interacting with each other is because of our past lives, and this is happening right now is because of our past lives. And lastly, I would just bring it all together with their relationship. Like the fact that Hae-sun is open to interpreting this as one of their past lives, and it's like, what would happen in our next life? Like, will we be in a relationship in our next life? It's just like we both know like he wants this in this life, but like the fact that he's open and mature enough to interpret this, like, hey, like what if this is just one of our past lives and we'll be happy in one of our next lives? It's just Really, really beautiful stuff, guys.
I think
Well
yeah,
said,
I-
fella.
I'm gonna cry, bro.
I don't think that this is a reading thing, but I don't think he actually believes, like, really that the past life thing. I think it's more of like a, like, doesn't Nora literally say, like, that's just a thing Koreans say to hook up with people?
Yeah,
Like,
but it's
I get
also
the-
like
I
such
get
a
the sense-
beautiful way
Let
to
me finish.
look at
Let me
life.
finish. I get the sense that
Yeah.
this is just like
Him coping? Don't say
metaphor?
that.
coping. Sure, I think it's a metaphor, and so he knows, like, he knows that all that really matters is what's happened, like the current life, whether or not you believe in reincarnation. I think he knows that, like, this is it, and it's just kind of like playfully and like melancholily, that's not a word, melancholically, just like summing up the relationship. They're just saying in a more flowery, man, I'm fucking awful today, like with figurative language and such, describing their failed relationship, right? It maybe in a past life, you know, it's playful rumination. It's not, I don't think they actually think they're gonna be in a next life seeing each other, you know, like I think it's,
I think part of them
he's resigned, you know, like kind of, but
I think part of them thinks it, and I think that I kind of agree with you though. I think it ultimately like doesn't matter whether or not they believe in it, because I think that they do believe that within the past life that they had, like they're like the people they used to be within their actual lives.
that, yeah.
Like they did have something, and so yeah, I think that like I think it is like an acceptance moment, but also I think it's a little bit of like it's a genuine belief that like their relationship is so strong that like it kind of transcends certain boundaries.
Yeah.
I do think they believe that on a certain level.
I think it's like one end, it's like him recognizing that their opportunities in this life is no more, but also sort of like there's always hope. It's like this could be one of our past lives, and in our next lives, you know, there could be something.
You know, it just, you know what I just thought of?
What?
Past lives is like Guardians 3. I bet we were fun. That's a movie
Oh
that'll make me cry.
no!
That's a past life I could get behind.
That's crazy, bro.
Movie's over. Aidan, we have a segment.
We sure do have a segment. So the podcast is called Predator vs. Movies. We've done
Fucked it.
Wait, podcast versus movies?
Let me fit, dude. Okay, I think I say this wrong 8 out of 10 times, but let me get through it. Okay, the podcast is called Predator vs. Movies. I don't know if you've noticed that. We've done the movie part. Now it's time to get into the Predator. This is the segment where we decide, would this movie better? I also say that all the time. Would this movie be better if the Predator from the movie Predator was in it? No.
No, absolutely not.
You could have done a callback where we guess if Predator was going to be better.
True.
Yeah, also no. Yeah, it just really
don't know
would
where
not
he'd
work.
fit in.
Maybe
really don't see anywhere you could go.
Cop out answer. Somebody's watching the movie on their TV.
True. Yeah.
That whatever his name is, Arthur was playing something on the PS5 or something.
Oh yeah.
Maybe
They're playing.
there's not even a Predator game, is there? I don't think there's.
There
I think there is. There
Alien
is
game?
one. Yeah.
Interesting. I did not know. Peter, we have a different segment that is
We
more
do.
interesting than this one.
Predators, pigs. What did you guys watch? I actually
will
do
start
have a
this
Predators
week.
pick this week. By the
Wow,
way.
Nice.
interesting.
Yeah.
I will start this week. I haven't spoken quite as I kind of had less to say at the end, so I'll throw in my voice for a little bit.
Sure.
I've seen 4 movies this week. Number 1, MI3. I always find the Mission Impossible like abbreviation funny because MI already has one of the I, and then we're doing Roman numerals. And so then it's M-I-I-I-I. So it's just like, anyways. This is the one directed by J.J. Abrams. Not that bad.
I was gonna say in my memory I like this one.
It's
so.
not, it doesn't reach the highs of every other one after it.
Sure.
Or the first one. But like, the hate it gets is not necessary.
I don't understand. Some people will say that it's better than that it's worse than the second one, and it's like
that's
no,
crazy.
No,
John
it is
Woo's
not.
is by far the worst. I hate 2.
They just hate. Well, film Twitter just hates J.J. Abrams so much that they can't.
That's true.
They just
I
can't
don't-
accept that he made a decent movie.
I don't have that strong feelings about J.J. Abrams, so maybe I'm immune to it. It seems like you are as well. But like, it works. It works as like an action. Like, sure, there's some like stupid things, and sure it gets better, and they like not everything in this movie is perfect, but they introduced Benji, Simon Pegg's character. The Vatican is so fun. Philip Seymour Hoffman, I think, is inarguably the best villain in any of these, because he just like he's so mad. He's so mad at Ethan Hunt. He's like, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill your wife and fuck you up.
Dude, and the part where he's running along like the water there, that's fucking sick. The extended shot where he's just sprinting.
Yeah, I think it's the longest one. People, that might be a joke, but Aaron Paul is in this, which I forgot. Yeah. I was like, I thought that was funny. But my favorite part is when they're breaking into the Vatican, and he gets on top of the Vatican wall, and he looks to camera. I don't think he doesn't like look down the barrel, but he just says Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, and then like it keeps going.
What?
And we're supposed to just like forget that he said that.
That's so
this
random.
insane line, this insane thingy. So I just imagine that like on his missions, he's always talking to himself, just saying like insane things to make himself laugh. Like gotta keep it light, gotta recall nursery rhymes or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Very funny movie. Great stuff.
crazy.
I watched No Hard Feelings, the new Jennifer Lawrence comedy. Pretty good. Pretty good. I really like J-Law in comedy, it turns out. Her co-star, Barth, I forget what her first name is.
That's a great name.
It's not Barf. No Hard Feelings. I just want to give his Andrew
Bartholomew?
Barth Feldman. And I think he's done stuff before. Apparently he was, what's his name? Dear Evan Hansen for a bit on Broadway or whatever.
Okay.
You know, on Broadway or whatever. But
Yeah.
so he has been in stuff before, but like he truly holds his own against J-Law, and I think also is maybe funnier. I think she's better. She's more acting experience and chops, but I think a lot of the laughs come from him and his kind of like, and like I can't even call him the straight man because they take turns. It's the lovely thing in a comedic pairing when neither is the straight man and the goofy man. I don't know what the other one is called. The funny man, I guess.
One, yeah.
But like they take turns and it's awesome. There's like a great scene where Lawrence is like they're skinny dipping and these teenagers take their clothes and she fights them fully nude, and it's just like that's cinema. Great stuff. It gets a little hokey in the third act.
Sure.
Not necessarily surprising, but there were a lot of laughs and I had a good time. So I would recommend that one. That was fun. Nice. I watched In the Mood for Love strictly because I knew we were doing this pod and I wanted something that people had recalled in reference to past lives. They're very similar in tone, in pace, and just in like it's a romance. It's an Asian-led romance. So I watched In the Mood for Love. I was a little tired. I thought it was pretty good. You know what? Intellectually, I was like, you know what? This is pretty good. And there's some bits that I loved. There were some bits that I loved. There's when it goes slow motion on you, and the strings start playing. That's great. I do not condone smoking, but smoking looks so cool on film, and the way what's his name? I don't want to mispronounce it.
Wong Kar-wai.
Yeah, that guy. The way he lights, just great. Color palette's really nice. I think the issue is it's a very emotionally distant film. You can argue whether you found that for Past Lives. Most would argue that that wasn't a problem for them. But for In the Mood for Love, I think maybe more so it keeps you at arm's length a little bit.
I still think it does in such a way that is still very emotional though, without you being exactly there with the characters.
Yeah. And so I think also just like the style I had to get used to. It's very like almost discontinuity, like in the sense that they'll show a bit of a seemingly random event and then cut to a new scene and you have no idea. It's disorienting for a little bit, and it does even out and stop doing that after a while. But I think
watch. Sorry, you go.
I think on revisit, I'll appreciate it more.
Yeah.
I think this is sometimes you need a first watch, and we'll discuss this with one of something else in our watches. Is sometimes you need a watch to be like, okay, so that's what this is, and then a second watch lets you appreciate something more. Maybe that's even true for past lives. Maybe there was a past life of me watching past lives that I didn't care for, and then in future lives I'll like it, or I'll be a tree branch. I don't know.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Aidan?
I was just gonna say you should watch Fallen Angels, because the editing of that is fucking insane. Have you seen it?
No, I want to. It's on my list among a million other things, but I'm aware that it's like an informal trilogy.
You should. Well, no, that's not part of the informal trilogy. The informal
trilogy.
Not?
It's 2046 and
it's Days of Being Wild, In the Mood for Love, and 2046.
Okay.
I haven't seen 2046. Days of Being Wild is really cool. Insane ending on that movie. Like fucking insane. Like you would never guess that that's the way that movie is gonna end. So
I'm excited. Okay.
But
we did watch a movie. Now this is usually what I say at the beginning of the podcast, but I mean to say that Aidan and I watched a movie at our local indie theater. We can shout out our indie theater too. I'll even give it a name.
Yep.
We can give it a name, right? We're not afraid of this.
I think so. The Dave Barber
Cinematheque. And
we've said that we're from Winnipeg, so that's
it's
the only
fine.
one.
Don't dox us, please.
Yeah.
But sometimes they do staff picks, and so the staff picked Heat, Michael Mann's 1995 crime thriller starring the Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. I've seen this before. Aidan had not.
It's my first time.
I came away from this loving it more than I had. I gave it 3.5 the first time. I give it 4.5 this time. So what you were rating Past Lives, I was like, nah, Heat's my jam. It feels so 90s. But I kind of just like, I was like, you know what? I don't care. Lighting, the style.
That was one of my favorite parts of it. I loved when like the most 90s track would come on, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I would just start like nodding my head. Like, and I don't mean like they didn't use like licensed music or whatever. I just mean like the score that's like coming in is like really...
For me, it wasn't even the score. It was like the look of the film. Like a 90s film has a very distinct visual style. There's the one part where they're overlooking the night skyline of LA, and I leaned over to Aidan and I was like, is that green screen? Like it is. I did look it up. It was green screen.
It's also like, just look at it. Like it's
atrocious. I will say, not a perfect movie. There's a lot of elements that are cheesy, bad. Al Pacino's acting is hilarious, but it works. By God, it all works as a whole package. The idea of like these guys who just can't have normal lives and have real relationships, and they can't maintain them because they are so like addicted to their profession. And but it's also like deeper than that, because it's kind of like, I don't know, like almost like a rage, because there's stuff near the end that's like getting revenge, and that's kind of tied to family as well. I just loved it. I had a really great time watching it. I was just like fully on board. Very cool movie. Aidan, what did you think about Heat?
I thought it was awesome. Yeah, I gave it 4 stars. I also was my first time watching it. Really enjoyed it. My only complaint off the dome is just that I just feel like it just takes too long sometimes to just like just get me where I need to go. Like, I don't know if I need all of these individual scenes, you know what I mean? But I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I won't feel that way on another watch. There's some fucking sick shots in this movie. There are like some just really awesome parts. I love when they pull into the drive-in theater, and I love like the setup of that is that extreme wide from above, and so it shows just like how wide open it is.
Is that what that is?
That's a drive.
I have no idea where they were. Okay, something
that's
new
what it
every
looked
day.
like to me. It doesn't really matter, but like anyway, but like then when the guy is stranded out in there, you're like, oh, he's fucked. Like he's completely alone. He's done, and then like the setup of it is really really good.
And then Val Kilmer rolls out from his hiding spot. He's like, bam, 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 stab. Yeah. That's awesome.
It's also like it's a movie that's constantly doing the thing that you hope it's gonna do. Where it's like I love like they're shooting a gun through their windshield, like
Insane behavior at all times.
Psychotic. Like they're just opening fire like with AK-47s like in the middle of the street. Like that like second act, like towards the end of second act, like bank robbery turned gunfight is fucking insane. Like that is such a crazy thing that they put to film. Great shots. I think there's some really great shots. The final shot's great. The final one's really great. And I was talking to Alex about like I love the idea that it's like I think in my opinion Al Pacino wins because he's resigned to his true nature by the end of the film, whereas Robert De Niro is trying to cheat it and he's trying to have both. He's trying to have it both ways. He's trying to both get away and like and be and like leave his life behind, but then he can't let it go. And you pointed out really well as well that it's like the girl is something that he's willing to leave really easily, but he's not willing to just but he's not willing to just let it go that this guy that he has to kill this guy. I guess we're spoiling the movie.
Whoa, spoiler for a movie that is almost 30 years old. Yeah. No, but you're right. I just want to add quickly, this is something that I saw on someone's review on Letterboxd, but it was the idea that when he's after Natalie Portman stuff happens and he's with his
that's a crazy part of the movie.
I know. He's with his now third ex-wife and she's like just go, or he decides to leave. The way he like gleefully prances down the stairs because he's like, the chase is on, I'm back on the case. He's just like so excited because like that's all that matters. And you're so right, like that's why he gets to spoiler live. Because De Niro just can't stop chasing that ideal that he can.
By the way, like I haven't seen the movie yet.
It doesn't matter. You won't remember, and you'll love it anyways. Like,
okay,
also, shut up.
Last thing I'll say about it, that thing with Natalie Portman, where we were both like, "Wait, why is she there? Like, what's happening?" Like, we both were talking about, like, did we miss a scene? Like, what the fuck just happened? And so, like, there's a little bit of that every now and then in the movie where it's like, I think I think
you had an answer. Okay.
No, I don't have an answer. What I mean to say is, like, I actually think they filmed way more scenes than what we saw, and I think that this is actually a cut down movie. Despite its length, I think this movie was cut down because there are certain things where it's like, wait, what the fuck? Like, how did they get there? Like, what are they doing right now? But yeah, it's not enough to really like ruin the movie or do anything bad to it. I'll move on. We've been talking for a while. I watched the movie Metropolis finally. From the 20s, one of the very, very popular silent films at the very tail end of the silent era. Really good. Really insane, like, how effective the visual language is there and the visual storytelling. Like, they actually do a really good job of it. I'll be honest, like, I consider myself a film guy. I watch the average silent film and I'm bored as hell. Like, I'm like, this sucks, I don't want to watch this. That's what it is, like, most of the time. This one I did not get bored at all, and it's even a somewhat long movie too. I think that, like, I gave it 4 stars because it's like, I get that it's of the era, but like the writing is dumb in certain parts of it. Like, the writing is pretty stupid. It does the thing where it's like some characters are objectively correct and they're like progressive, but they like kill a child. They don't actually kill a child in this, but like, you know what I mean? Where it's like you have to give the characters who are like progressive and correct like some like auxiliary moral failing so that like they're
It's
wrong.
the flag smasher paradox. You can't be a good guy and like you can't have these you can't have good ideas and be the bad guy. You have to be like you have to kill kids or
you have to be like
or something.
You want a more equitable society, but you've killed 20 babies or whatever. And so there's a bit of that in that movie, but it's a really great movie overall. Definitely one that I think that's an essential watch. I finished The Wire. Great show. This is probably my favorite show of all time. I think like it's actually insane. Like, I watched an episode of Black Mirror right after finishing The Wire, and I was like, wow, like it's gonna be hard to adjust to shows that are just like averagely to badly written after watching like what is probably to me the best written show I've ever seen. Like, it was just like glaring how bad the writing in that Black Mirror episode was compared to it. But yeah, no, I have a lot to say to it. I've talked about it a lot on the pod though. I think the only thing I'll say is that I heard the last season's disappointing to some people. I can't imagine why. I've already talked about this in the pod before, but like it's such a natural end point, and it's such a like, yeah, it's like I think it's like one of the best ways the show could end, I think it's really great. Yeah, I'll just quickly mention actually I watched the episode of Black Mirror from the new season. Loch Henry, fucking hated it. I thought it was fucking terrible. It was all the things that all the worst parts of Black Mirror dialed up to 11, and all of the best parts nowhere to be seen. And yeah, like it's an episode that's getting decent reviews, and it's one of those times where I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Like the writing sucks in this episode. It's so fucking bad. But whatever. Like anyway, last thing I watched that I liked, I watched the entire first season of True Detective. That's a good show. That's a good one. Show. Liked that show. Liked the performances. Some very interesting ideas talking about like religious narratives in that show as well. Yeah, that's what I watched.
Cool. Peter, what are your picks? You have one for once. Tell us.
Dude, I watched a movie last night just like for no reason at all.
I actually know what this is, and I don't like the score you gave it yet.
Yeah, dude, I didn't find it that funny. I watched The Guard, Brendan Gleeson and Don Cheadle. I think there were just too many Irish references that I just don't understand at all.
Whoa.
A little too Irish in here. Could use less Irish.
Well, I mean, like the acting was great, the performance is great, but like it's just like, I don't know.
It was like
I
regional humor that.
Like I thought In Bruges was funnier, and like Banshee of Inisherin funnier, in my opinion.
I'm always gonna be like the Martin McDonagh hater, like
dude.
The Guard.
Wait, isn't this directed by his brother or something? Because his last name is also McDonagh.
I think, which is very funny.
Yeah.
I think I will say for The Guard, it's
The Guard.
Maybe from what I remember, is it kind of like a loose story? Like it kind of meanders and takes its time.
Oh yeah. There was definitely a story in there. There's like
I know there's a Mark Strong is in this, right?
Yeah.
How do you not love this? Yeah, no man, it's a great movie. I love Don Cheadle and one of them Gleeson, Brendan Gleeson's chemistry. I think they're so funny together.
Yeah.
Just me.
I think we have good alternating opinions on Martin McDonagh, because I think Peter's seen all his films and generally likes them.
Not all of his films. I've seen Billboard.
I've seen Billboards and Bruges and No, I haven't seen In Bruges. I've only seen Banshees and.
Yeah, I've seen three. So In Bruges, Banshees, and Billboards.
But my point is, you generally like them all.
Yeah, I like them all. Yeah.
Alex, I think you've seen the same ones, and you like some of them, and some of them you're teetering on.
I don't think I ever hate them.
Right.
I just don't care for them.
And then I have a different part of the spectrum where I really, really like Banshees of Inisherin, and then I fucking
big Billboard hater right here.
And then I hate Three Billboards. Yeah.
That's like the normal take. You have the normal take of that.
Sure.
But anyways. Yeah. Next week, guys, Mission Impossible 7 is here. Dead Reckoning Part 1.
I will be there.
I will be there.
Yes.
I have to finish my rewatch. I'm way behind. I gotta get 3 movies in.
Dude, honestly, at this point, I don't give a fuck about the Mission Impossible lore anymore. Like,
yeah, I don't.
Henry Cavill's anatomy shows up. Fine.
especially they're bringing people back from 1. They're bringing.
Oh really?
Yeah, Kittredge, who's like the guy in charge of.
I'll be fine though.
Of the Mission Impossible force, and he's so funny. The actor, I just love the way he talks. He's like, he's the guy who says, "Ethan, you've got to pick a side," like that guy in the trailer. And if you remember the scene in 1 where he does the wire act to get to the room. How do I describe this? The Langley heist at the CIA, where he's in the white room. Scene. The guy who he's like not stealing from, but like it's his job, who works there, who gets like violent diarrhea or whatever. Like that guy is in Dead Reckoning. They brought him back, and like there's again a great scene with Kittredge and him. Crazy split diopter shot where it's like he's so small. Like the split diopter is way on one side of the frame. He's way in the background, and it's Kittredge and this random guy way up close. And he's like, I want that guy in a bunker in Alaska. He's just so mad at this guy. And so that's probably where he is. He's probably like Ethan's last ally, even though they've never formally met. Anyways, I'm so excited. Mission Impossible.
Wait, I'm also excited considering in my memory the best one is the 6th one, so it's only gotten better.
Oh really?
For me.
Oh shit, that's crazy. Because I've only seen the 6th one.
I love the 6th.
You've only seen?
Yeah. Kind of crazy.
That is insane.
The 6th one is fucking awesome. That movie's so sick.
Peter, you're.
Dude, that's why I was gonna ask you. It's like, does like knowing the Mission Impossible lore actually help you?
The lore doesn't matter.
You'll be fine.
It's the vibes.
Yeah.
It's all, like, why would
it's
you
like it's like Top Gun Maverick. You don't need to see Top Gun. You're fine.
No, not that one especially.
Yeah.
But like, I think for this, I just got flashbacks of Top Gun Maverick flashbacks. Like the bits where it flashbacks to Top Gun 1, and it's really corny, like that was in the previous movie kind of flashbacks. Oh god. Anyways, like you're saying, okay, the lore is not important, but like that's a selection of very high quality films that you're just like, I don't need to see them. What? Who cares about the lore?
Dude,
Just
where
go
are you
watch
guys
them.
finding
They're
them?
great.
They're not on streaming.
Oh, I own them. I own all of them.
Oh.
I own all of the Mission Impossible movies.
Nice.
So yeah,
Very
it's not
nice.
a problem for me. They might be on the streaming.
They're on Paramount Plus.
But Peter, since when has streaming been a barrier for people on this podcast?
That is true.
I will check though.
I will say though, like the place I'm living at right now has terrible internet connection. So
Paramount Plus.
streaming is the best shot for me to watch.
But anyway, we're watching Mission Impossible 7 next week.
Yep. If you like us, check us out on Instagram and Twitter. We are at Predator v Movies. If you like my thoughts on movies, check me out on Letterboxd at _AlexGordon_. Sometimes I leave reviews. Recently, they've been less about the movie and more about the experience, which is what Peter pointed out. I am just very lazy right now. And so really the quickest review I can write out is what you're getting. And
some of the best reviews he's done is
I think
his
also
recent reviews.
Also it depends on like the movie. Like if it's a movie with a lot of substance and I really connect to, I'll write a longer thing. And I did. Asteroid City, I wrote a long piece on that. Other things, I'm going to give you a paragraph max. Aidan, do you have something to plug?
There's also me. You can also follow me on Letterboxd. I'm 810sunny. That's 810SONNY. My name is Wombo. I also leave reviews sometimes, although recently it has been very rare. And when I do, it is often a couple sentences at most.
Nice. Peter, I just have a quick question about Letterboxd. Why
What's
did
up?
16 minutes ago during the podcast did you like my Fincher ranked list? I did not mention David Fincher once in this podcast or any of his movies.
I think I was
That is
just going
also-
through Letterboxd and I was like, why do I like this list? And I liked it. I'm sorry.
Whoa. Also, I will say, this is not a list I have added to in months, maybe even a year. So this is going to be at the bottom of my lists.
That's
And
crazy.
Yeah, you unliked it. You son of a
Yeah.
bitch. Zodiac is first.
Oh,
I
I
just
would
throw that out
also
there.
not like that.
What would you say is first? I
That's
don't know. They're all good though.
Oh, actually,
I
think
really
Aidan's
like
a
David
7.
Fincher.
No,
So
I have a take that I think people probably don't like, which is that
I'll
my
hear
number
it.
one is probably The Social Network.
Oh, really?
it's my number two.
Was really
it's
good.
my number two. I'm not gonna blame you on that.
I like
thought
that
you were,
one a lot.
I thought you were gonna say Mank. If you said Mank,
No.
if you said your number one Fincher was Mank, that's the take that'll get you
That would
crucified.
be Alien
That's
3.
a crazy take.
If your
Alien
number one
3.
Fincher is Alien 3.
I think Mank is a funnier choice to me because that is like a forgotten movie.
Yeah.
It is so stylistically
Although
different.
it is good. It is a good movie.
It's all. I know, but like that's the thing is it's like it's not bad. So it's just a very strange but honest and real take to be like, yeah, Mank is my favorite Fincher. Like what? Anyways, crazy stuff. Peter, do you have anything to plug?
No. What a shocker.
You know what the fuck that means. You gotta leave a review, you gotta leave a like, you gotta leave a comment. guys, just like interact with us so that we feel the love. And if we feel the love, the algorithm feels the love, and they just want to spread the love. One love. Bob Marley said that, and he's going to say it again in his biopic. And that's how we get more listeners, like Bob Marley did. And Bob Marley needs more listeners on Spotify, apparently. Go give him some love, too. One love. Again, cannot emphasize the amount of love. Can only be one.
It's just one. It's just
Dude, you gotta relate it to the movie, bro. By liking, you can add additional layer of yin yang between us.
Yin yang? That's not what the movie was about. Did
what?
You say yin yang? You said yin yang. Maybe
Wait,
you said
what?
yin yang.
Well,
I don't know.
wait, what's this supposed to be?
Guys, we gotta end this one. I don't know what's going on.
You said you meant yin yang, but you said yin yang, which is the other symbol.
Right,
Anyways,
right.
Podcast over.
Woo. See
I'm
you guys
Alex.
next week. I'm Peter.
This is Predator vs. Movies. Thank you. Bye.